Welcome to The More You NoCo. This podcast is kind of like the news, but for Northern Colorado, except for way more positive. We stay with our guests for an hour instead of 30 seconds. And yeah, I know. This time, we are joined by two guests. Our first guest who you'll hear from is the owner of Blue Stocking Burlesque, and her name is Bang Bang. Partway through the show, we will be joined by our second guest, Cheri Kush Lightning, a dancer for the Blue Stocking Burlesque company. Do you feel like you know exactly what burlesque is? Or do you feel like you have a good understanding of what exactly goes on behind the scenes of burlesque? My guess is maybe not. Stay tuned and find out for yourselves.
There are no weekends.
Yeah, that's right. Living the grind. But hey, it's a grind we want, right?
Yes,
it's a grind we choose. All right. Here I sit with Bang Bang in the green room of the Artery in downtown Fort Collins. And Bang Bang is the owner and director of the Blue Stocking Burlesque. Did I get that correct?
Yes.
Okay. Let's start for our listeners out there who don't know, what is Blue Stocking Burlesque?
Blue Stocking Burlesque is a burlesque production company / troupe that I started in 2012 with a group of my friends, all dancers, all in a previous burlesque troupe together, and we decided to venture out and do our own thing for artistic reasons, and we just really wanted to present burlesque in a different fashion than we were seeing option-wise in our area. We wanted to give more of a old school sort of a burlesque feel, and burlesque, for those who don't know, is the art of the striptease. Mm-hmm. That is the most recent sort of definition. Back in the day, it was men dressed as women being politically angry at and making fun of political figures. That's where first burlesque started.
Really? I did not know that.
Many other things. Burlesque is fairly all-encompassing, but the way that it's become, well, the neo style and everything in the 1940s when it was really big was striptease, very classic, down to pasties and G-string, and also group numbers and things like that. So we kind of bring a variety of different routines and styles to all of our shows, which we do monthly. And
so how is Blue Stocking Burlesque different from what you were seeing and experiencing before?
We are perhaps just a little bit more, a little bit wider range of sort of themes and the type of talent we bring in. We tend to hire out a lot of other artists from different areas of the country. I've had people from all over the country in my shows. Where the other troupe in town is very much troupe-based. It's like, which is very cool, to have great group numbers and stuff, but it's more of like the same, 10 people do this thing, which I think is great. We just decided to kind of bring other people in so that they could see other types of burlesque that was available, which has been really fun to sort of change that up.
Yeah, you want to be more inclusive.
Yes, very much. That was the goal.
Right.
Very much so.
Yeah, so you started... Have you always been doing shows here at the Artery?
So the Artery has actually not been around as long as my troupe has been around, but I've done a few productions here. I think the first one was this year. In February of this year, we did something called the Burlesque Ball, where I had a bunch of different burlesque dancers and drag artists, drag queens and drag kings. And we did a big variety show, and then we had a DJ afterwards. And then a couple months ago, we did one that was called The Cat's Pajamas, which I had co-produced with Wear It Again Sam and Fancy Beast, which are two local women-owned businesses in town. Wear It Again Sam is vintage clothing resale, and Fancy Beast puts... tooth gems on people, which is this trendy thing that all the young people like. It's a Swarovski crystal that you get glued to your tooth with dental grade. All
right, I officially feel old because I have no idea what you're talking. Wait, let me see this thing. What?
It's right there.
Okay.
It was so they're sponsors also of my troupe, Wear It Again Sam and Fancy Beast. So I wear this so that I can advertise for Fancy Beast, and I have endless amounts of beautiful clothing from Wear It Again Sam. So we all got together and did a little sort of time travel show from the 1920s to the 80s with fashion and burlesque themed with each decade, and that was really cool. And then I moved the show here. Our very first monthly installment was last night here at the Artery. So for the reoccurring show, that just started literally yesterday. And I'd previously been at the Lyric Cinema, which is a great place. I had been talking with some various producers and people, and it just seemed like this was a little better fit just because of the location. But the Lyric was great. This was just a little bit of a better fit for us, for the direction that the company is going.
So first monthly installment last night.
Yes.
How'd it go?
It went very well. It went so well, in fact. It's always kind of a risk to, when you move your venue, which I've done a few times, just been looking for the right fit, which I think I found now. But you don't know who's going to come because they aren't sure like where your shows are now. I'm pretty good about advertising and putting the word out on the street, and we have a pretty strong group of fans that follow us wherever and really are in tune. But we had a really nice turnout, in fact. I'm very pleased. I'm very pleased with it. I'm still running on that high/exhaustion. Like I'm running on that right now.
Right, yeah. You were sharing with me before we started recording here that you're on 2 hours sleep.
Yes.
So I'll thank you again at the end, but I want to thank you right now for still fitting us into your schedule.
It's my pleasure. I'm very excited.
Yeah, and you do some work here at the Artery, too?
Yes, I also work here kind of general. Everybody who works here kind of can do all the things. So I like bartend and I help with, production stuff, and it's a great job. It also, another reason why I brought my show here is once I started doing, as I said, a muggle job is what we call it in the burlesque world here. It just all kind of came together because I had wanted to do a monthly show here. They just didn't have a time slot for me available, and then it came available, and so I work here and I can promote while I'm here for my show and promote for here at my show. So it's a really nice
They feed each other.
Yeah, it's been really good. I'm excited for the future.
That's neat. Mm-hmm. So will they reoccur on a certain weekend? Is it a certain date?
It's the first Thursday of every month.
Okay.
And it should stay that way. At least it's going to be that through December. And it might change, but I think it seems like a good slot for us.
Okay. So you said you want to be more inclusive with Blue Stocking. Mm-hmm. What type of reactions have you got from your company so far that made you feel like we did the right thing?
Immediately, and the company has gone through a bunch of different changes since we started in 2012. Like, we were very much in that troupe mentality where we did all these group numbers and we all had a solo and stuff. And now it's kind of evolved because I'm the only original member now to more of a production company. So me bringing people in. And I MC and do all the stuff when it's gone through so many different changes, but the theme the whole time was that like the freedom of artistic expression was there. It felt very caged up in our previous situation and unable to really express ourselves. There was definitely a grand theme and focus of that group that I understand why that's a thing. It just didn't work for the kind of art that we wanted to do, which was just, not have any limitations, within reason, without, offending people publicly and things like that. But just, being able to express ourselves without feeling like we had to get approval.
Are you willing to jump into what some of those restrictions were or what that mantra was? Or
No, it's not. I don't really, because, this other troupe is still around, and I very much want to support everybody in the community.
Correct.
So, but, it was just more of like one person's vision, which works for a lot of people. Like, that sort of mentality is really people who like to be in groups like that. Like, I was a ballerina for 20 years. I did competitive Irish dance. I've been a dancer my whole life, and I understand what happens, like, when the comfort levels that you find. And some people really like to be directed. Like, that works for them, and they find their joy there. And it wasn't that I was, or any of us were trying to like be petulant little children. We just knew that our goal for burlesque was a bit more broad. And I didn't even know, the extent of the burlesque community until I broke away from that previous situation. And I was like, wow, there's all these shows in Colorado that I have not been exposed to for some reason. And now I am in control of my career and I can do it. And I've danced all over the country now because we all had different opportunities because we just kind of became our own boss. And the troupe went well for when it was just like it was like 4 of us and we did a bunch of shows. I think I took 1 month off in the last 10 years from doing burlesque, actually. Yeah. Which is a crazy thing to say, but it's true.
You're just saying that and you're like, holy shit.
I didn't realize until just now.
The more you know co-epiphanies right here.
Yes.
Seeing it live, or hearing it, I guess. When you were traveling around and your awareness was rising of other burlesque shows in Colorado, do you think any of those pieces followed you, and how were you inspired, and what did you take from those?
Well, it was amazing to see. I was always I'm not a fool, but I was on my first taste of the Kool-Aid was so specific, as I said, of a certain person's vision that I didn't know how warm and loving the rest of the community was, because dance and things like this can be fairly competitive, and there's a lot of divas, and I'm certainly a diva in my own way, but there can be a lot of tension, but the burlesque community really strives for inclusivity and tolerance and just
acceptance,
love, acceptance. But we can also get really up in arms about people who abuse that, which of course happens in anything. But overall, I just couldn't believe, and I was so happy about the love I was getting from people and the encouragement. It was just all like, yeah, man, you can do this. I was only good. I can only think of good things. There's not anything that sticks out to me except in my previous experience before that was negative, that like haunts me or anything, like a weird thing. It was only encouragement and love, and seeing all these beautiful acts and ideas that people had coming to life and being like, wow, I really can do anything with this. And as long as I focus on it and just do it, take inspiration from things, don't rip things off. That's hard a lot of people do it. It's just how the world works sometimes, and just like know that you can make this what you want it to be. Because burlesque is kind of one of those things, I think it's hard to teach. I really do encourage people to take burlesque classes that are available, but as far as when you reach a certain point and you discover your own personal style, I don't think anyone can dictate that to you. Because, people call me a classic burlesque dancer, which I don't really put myself in that box. I happen to excel at that style, but I also do like funny sort of neo-burlesque with different themes. I'm as a vintage enthusiast and someone who's studied all like the hair and makeup and the fashion and only really watches vintage movies, I guess that's why I naturally lean in that direction. But I mean, I've seen the craziest, coolest stuff, like somebody who has her own, it's like a lion cage, like at a circus that she travels with, and she does this incredible panther act in it, and it's huge, it's like life size. And she does it to a beautiful vintage song, and she's just like, prowling on the top of this huge prop, and you just got chills because it's like cat. You're looking at a human who's just exuding cat at you, and it's amazing.
Right.
And an amazing way to express yourself and do whatever you want.
So could you discern for our listeners who are scratching their head, taking notes, vintage burlesque, or they may not even, they hear striptease. I feel like a lot of people, you got to see it to know, right?
Well, I'd say a good reference is, and a person who brought burlesque back into the forefront in popular culture is Dita Von Teese, who is very, very famous for many reasons. She's a fashion icon. She's an incredible burlesque dancer and producer, and she was engaged to Marilyn Manson. That was pretty cool. Oh, my babies. So she brought it forward, and she does really classic burlesque, like, what you saw in the clubs in the 40s, which is very much like that vintage silhouette of an hourglass and certain cut of high heels, like very much a classic vintage look, and kind of strut choreography where, you're kind of just walking but like powerful walking and taking an art like a glove off in such a way. It's like a genre of burlesque that's just very, very where your brain usually goes is Dita Von Teese or someone like Tempest Storm, who's a classic burlesque dancer who's still alive. I've met her twice. She's a delight. She's worked with Betty Page and stuff. That was surreal. I fell into a documentary about her because we happened to be at this competition where she was at, and they were following her around. Yeah, she's a trip. She's so sweet and so quiet. And like you see her old films where she's doing like naughty things with Betty Page, who's a very famous pinup girl, and you're like, wow, man, you're just so quiet. Still got red hair down to her like waist and is beautifully dressed all the time. Like, God, I like barely got my makeup on for you today. And we both were like, should we put on makeup? So this is Cheri Kush Lightning. She's my burlesque baby. Hello. She's in my
Hello.
company.
Yes, we've been welcome. We've been joined by a third person here.
Yes.
So can you introduce yourself?
I'm Cheri Kush Lightning. I am the Blue Stocking sweetheart. I was birthed by Bang Bang about a year ago into the burlesque family. I don't know, I was a stage kitten for a long time before that, so it's kind of like a techie kind of position.
She was determined and she did it.
Yeah, I hit the stage and pretty much have been on it nonstop since.
And you performed last night, I assume?
Yes.
And how did that go?
It went well.
Yeah.
It was a really good night.
Yeah. And how's the past year been for you, getting into this?
It has been challenging, but also it's really fulfilling. I have invested way more of myself and my money than I had ever expected to. I've always kind of been into like vintage fashion and like pinups and like a vintage style of lingerie. So when I discovered burlesque, it was kind of like obvious.
They found you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was asked to be a stage kitten and I went out and spent $100 on lingerie and was like, let's do this.
Yes.
So how long did you work as a stage tech?
I don't even know.
Almost 2 years,
Yeah.
I think, before I started performing.
Was that with Bang Bang or a different production?
Yeah, with Bang Bang.
Okay.
So again, the troupe has gone through many different phases. Yes. But it's fairly common to start out as a stage kitten. And there's some clubs that you have to do it first or else they don't allow you to perform. Just, it's good for experience. You're seeing the shit, essentially. You're like, I mean, it's beautiful when you get on there, but what is it happening in the back? It's still beautiful, but it's like hectic and a lot of work. Yeah. And if we aren't all working together, there has to be a gopher. She has to pick up, she's used to pick up the droppings, the burlesque droppings. Yep. That's what a stage kitten's most visual role is to pick up what we've taken off at the end and take good care of those costumes and be respectful of the props, and it's not an easy job.
You have to be hyper aware of the whole show, because you have to tear down and set up each act, and people need your help doing other things. So you're fixing everyone's stocking seams and
zipping things
pulling corset strings and then going out and
looking adorable while you're doing it.
Yep. Wiggling your bum as you set the chair down. And then I really loved being a stage kitten. I thought it was an excellent introduction, and it gave me a chance to meet everyone and really see I think a lot of people see burlesque and they're like, oh, it's so sparkly and you have all these costumes. I want to do that. And I'm like, it is an intense amount of back work that you don't see. So I feel like being a stage kitten gave me a chance to see a lot of that, the stress of making up acts and performances and things not going to plan and creating costumes and costumes not going to plan. I saw everyone go through that during my 2 years as a stage kitten, and that kind of prepped me to realize that it's glamorous, but it's also I don't know, it's not just that easy. You don't just go get on stage and you're boom, it's a lot of work.
But it's fun.
It is fun.
A big pull for me, besides the obvious glamour, I've worked in production of dance forever, so I understand there's a lot that goes into it. But since you're your own guide, more or less, in this sort of thing, making your own costumes and trying to figure out, okay, what is the best way to get this dress off without falling over, looking clumsy, or you think about 5,000 things. It's not just as simple as
it's all about grace and poise.
Yeah. But the before the grace and poise is shown is getting dressed and undressed and dressed again and sweating your balls off because you're practicing so much, and you're damn it.
Oh my god, it's really tedious to put all those layers on and take them off in 3 minutes and then have to put them back on.
And it's twice the amount of time to shove yourself back in. But when you get it, is the most amazing feeling. And it's just, it happens. You're wow, this is great. This is why we do it. And it's a lot about the people's reaction and the inspiration you give. And if you're panicking while you're doing it, that doesn't really resonate well. The audience will know, and everybody talks shit because that's the way the world works, and it'll happen, and it's fine. But if you know, I've known a dancer who's incredibly, like, she's been doing this for 20 years. She's very professional. She's beautiful. She does incredible costume work. I've seen her fall on her face and make it look good. Like, we all knew that it was not supposed to happen, but her recovery was gorgeous. And that's why the audience didn't break out of, like, this mesmerizing thing. So.
That is finesse.
Yeah.
How do you come back from falling down?
Oh, man. We've all done it.
And there's...
Yeah.
Right.
Like pure adrenaline.
Go. I turned that into the splits, and I couldn't even do the splits before.
Right.
You know.
So you get this performance where you start nailing it all the time, and you've got it down pat, and it feels great. But you have all those in-between shows where you feel like you're 1 second from losing it. How do you get through those? Where you're perfecting, you're getting better. You say, you know, you're out there performing, and then you got to get dressed back in 3-4 minutes.
Mm-hmm. You
just survive?
It's kind of a part of the whole, you know, show business. It's like you're
and
running
it's
on
also
that drive.
Fun.
It
like,
is fun.
It's hard work, but like even when things go wrong, like overall, usually the show is a lot of fun.
As long as you keep all the weird stuff in behind the scenes, like any sort of entertainment, and just give the good product out there, it's, you know, very satisfying for everybody involved. It's very much a symbiotic. I don't know. You have to have a good audience, too. It's hard to play a bad audience, which everybody does, and it's a good experience to, like, depend on yourself. But burlesque, I think, really depends on the feedback, the audio feedback of people yelling. I have to go up as the MC and tell people it's okay. Here it's okay to be like, yeah!
Strongly encouraged.
Very much, it's good. You can yell, you can whistle, as long as you're not yelling inappropriate things or, you know... Take it off is really annoying. It doesn't happen often, but when I start hearing someone yell, take it off, I'm like, where? Yes, we will, in fact.
We're getting there.
That's like being at an NFL game and saying, throw the ball.
Yes, exactly.
Like, well, no shit.
Yes, like, I think that eventually that will happen. You don't need to say, but yeah, the audience, I'm getting texts right now, actually, as we're speaking, from somebody who came to the show last night who is just so thrilled about it. She's telling me that she's going to come to every show that we do, and she lives in Denver.
Nice.
But
devoted fans already.
Well, she has aspirations to do burlesque, I'm pretty sure, and also it's a great, as I said, it's a very encouraging, loving community for the most part. You know, of course there's a few things that there's always a weird black sheep little corner of stuff, but I would say mostly it is the most loving, encouraging space. And I'm very lucky that I do this as my job and my career. It is most of my income in my life is burlesque. I'm very lucky. A lot of people do it because they just need that outlet of artistic explosion, because the rest, you know, like, I'm an accountant and it sucks, but then I on the weekend get to bathe in glitter and find my soul again. And I think that's a lot of the drive of people who approach us.
Yes.
They want to do it because they see the freeing, you know, like, oh man, they must love their body and feel so good. We all go through these crazy things about ourselves. Like, we're all different shapes and sizes of burlesque, and sexual orientations, and how we, you know, our alter egos are different, and it's good soul food. The money is, you know, it takes a while, I'm not gonna lie, to be able to make enough money to survive off of it, because it's like anything, you have to hustle and you have to make, you know, a demand of minimum payments and stuff eventually, and you have to make your product worth it. And there's many burlesque dancers in the world. There are tons. In Colorado. It's a big hot spot, unusually, in the country. Not many in LA, where I'm from. Like,
what?
Yeah,
I would really expect the inverse.
There's a lot. Of course, there is a lot. You know, Dita's based there, and I have a bunch of friends out there, but it's not the same. Like, there's so much other entertainment to be had there that burlesque is kind of like, oh yeah, well yeah, that's cute for sure, but this is Hollywood, and there's so many aspiring yada yadas for every form of entertainment. And the only show I was really doing consistently is no longer going on because a movie company bought the venue out for 4 years to do a TV show there. So I don't even dance when I go back home anymore. Not really. Colorado has a lot of performers and shows. I can every weekend there's at least a few. Denver's obviously the really hot spot, and there's only we were producing multiple shows all the time, monthly, and we stopped doing that because it was exhausting. and because we wanted to find the one space that we could just put all of our energy into it instead of being like, okay, we got done with that one, now we have the next one. It's like,
you don't want to travel all the time.
Yeah, I'm in Denver like every weekend dancing as an independent contractor all the time. There's not much in northern Colorado for burlesque.
Why do you think there's a concentration in Colorado, and then why do you think it's less so up here in northern Colorado?
I really have no explanation to why it's a hot spot here. I love it. I think it's a cool thing for sure. I imagine it's because there were quite a few when the new sort of wave of burlesque happened, which was about 20 years ago. There were quite a few staple sort of performers that lived in Colorado that really brought it back hard. Like, started doing shows, opened up their own, burlesque academies, and it kind of, there were some big, very motivated people in Denver who started doing it when everything started coming back. And there's a pretty amazing burlesque club up there called the Clock Tower Cabaret, which has been doing burlesque shows almost every night. Well, they do other things now, but like consistent burlesque shows weekly for that long. And it's a beautiful club underneath the Clock Tower on Arapahoe and 16th. And I have the honor of being able to dance there. Sometimes it's a pretty awesome gig to get. You have to audition, and it's a lot of work to get to that point. For me, that was a personal goal of mine, because I also think it's because of the history in my brain. I think of that as one of the original things that many dancers from all over the country go there. If they're in town, that's where they go. So I think there was just a lucky placement of very motivated burlesque people in Colorado at the time of its reimagination. Would you agree? I mean, I don't know. I'm much older than you.
Yeah, you know.
How do you feel?
I honestly could only guess. I'm like, because our nudity laws are more lax. I don't know.
Well, and the laws there are some strange laws in other places, I've heard. Like Utah's odd, I've heard.
Some of our friends went to Utah recently to perform, and you have to keep your bra on. So you can wear like a nude lace bra.
It's called a Boston bra.
You can't.
Boston bra.
You can't take it off, and you have to like tape your bra on. So like,
there's no side boob allowed.
It can't like come off at all. So
the rule in Colorado is nipples must be covered. So we wear pasties, obviously, and an inch of fabric on your ass, at least, like above your crack. You have to cover up whatever junk you carry in the front and up through your butt. Because there's things called like a C cup, which is like this little device that just like it covers your...
Wait, can you not use that here?
You're not encouraged to do that here, I'm pretty sure. But, like a fake Merkin, like I have something that looks like that, but it is actually a full underwear thing. It's just nude and covered in rhinestones, and it has a clear strap on it. And I've never gotten flagged for that. And if obviously we have strip clubs in Colorado, and you can do full nude, but no alcohol on full nude sides. And it's just, the laws are different also according to what kind of show you're doing. Like when we're here, I'm like, if you pop a pasty, cover that up, because our liquor license is precious.
Yeah. Makes me wonder how this all was going down in a legislation room that probably was not that exciting. All right. If the pasty falls off, no liquor test. No liquor laws. And, well, we can be full nude, but we got to have a wall here if we're serving liquor, gentlemen. Like, it's so strange how these laws come in effect, and then there's 50 different states, and nobody can agree.
Yeah.
Plus,
that's crazy.
Like, they recently... At least in Fort Collins, lifted the free the nipple thing.
Yeah.
So I guess for the liquor license, you probably still couldn't show your boob, but
like that's like across the board. I think no nudity with alcohol. I think I'm not positive, but I'm pretty sure.
That's gotta be full nudity. Though.
Yeah. Oh yeah. That's like all your business. Yeah.
Definitely drink at the strip club before.
I did recently, in fact. So yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
Nudity. I like it, though.
I would hope so.
I was way naked in this room last night.
Burlesque.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you think, you had mentioned earlier, good audiences, bad audiences? To me, that seems like a strange concept. What are some examples?
We don't want the audience to be shy.
Oh, yeah. It's such a bummer when they're shy.
When it's like deadpan quiet.
Yeah. Or if they look scared. You want them to look like excited.
Like, I was here for poetry.
Well,
what is going on?
This is my poetry right here.
Poetry of the body.
Yeah. Yeah, quiet is hard. As I said, overly rowdy, inappropriate is
That's
hard.
true.
Right.
Which I don't think we've... At a previous venue, which I will not name, which has been plagued with issues as far as, like, appropriateness and just treatment of women and stuff. Like, there was a few times I had to throw some people out who were treating it like the strip club, which I love the strip club. Bless my sisters on the pole. Like, I totally have support of it, but burlesque shows just aren't that. It's a different thing. It's very much more theatrical. A lot of the performers are very shy and stuff. Like, it's a safety thing. It's like, there is a wall here. There's not a lot of interaction in a burlesque with
No,
people.
like, the lap dance thing that happens at strip clubs, like, you have to interact with everyone. Like, at burlesque, we just get on stage, perform, maybe walk through the audience, but we're not, like, hustling everyone individually. No. We're just,
It's
like...
theater.
It is more
it's a lot more like theater.
Yeah, because I suspect there'll be some listeners who see burlesque, they hear us discussing, and in their head they're thinking, similar to a strip club, but it's totally different.
Yeah, I mean, there's obviously nudity and, you know, like, appreciation of, you know, a sexual being, but honestly, burlesque is not purely sex-driven, I would say, as far, you know, like, we have...
Yeah, there's a lot of different styles.
Yeah.
Like, some burlesque is really silly, and...
The comedy burlesque is so beautiful.
Yeah, I've seen some really, like... I saw, like, a giant dancing vagina burlesque one time, which was, like... Definitely a lot more silly.
Oh, that was in my show, huh?
Yeah. A long time ago.
That was a long time ago.
Also in one of your shows more recently, we had someone who juggled plastic bags.
Oh, it was amazing.
With,
Those
little hook claws.
Extension hook thingies.
So you, like, put your finger and it opens the claw.
Right.
So he, like,
How do you
had two,
juggle
and he, like,
plastic
threw
bags?
plastic
It was
bags.
amazing. He's a clown. He's a professional juggler, so...
Yeah.
That was amazing.
Yeah, so...
And he was also pretending to be a very... kind of cranky ballet dancer the whole time. It was like to a Nutcracker song. And he'd like have meltdowns and our stage kittens would go up and like comb his hair and it was amazing. So funny.
See, this is different.
Yeah.
This is something people will be surprised to hear.
We very much supply a variety show too. Like and I love all burlesque, as I said, but sometimes, this is feedback I hear from audience members and other producers, seeing tit after tit after tit or whatever, like boylesque is a thing, which we'll get into, that's very important, but...
Okay, we'll cue it up next.
Yeah. It can get a little monotonous. I don't personally, I've never felt that way, but I could see why it is, you know, it's just like you want a little bit of a mix-up, so that's why we do hire drag artists or jugglers or belly dancers or aerialists. We had a chair dancer who's like...
We've had two amazing chair dancers.
And who also do pole, but we couldn't accommodate the pole height at the venue for one of them. So, but it tends to go together, pole and chair dancing, and just like, you know, traditional old burlesque, like in the 40s and stuff and 50s, there's always a comedian too. That was very much comedians and burlesque went together. Vaudeville, you'd travel with a bunch of burlesque dancers and a bunch of comedians. You just layer that through. And our shows we have, like, I sing. I also MC, and I try to be funny. I don't know. I think people, they're just laughing at me because I'm just telling them truths about myself because that's just what happens. I think it makes it more authentic. I like to be a little bit more real because it makes the audience feel like they know us better, and I can laugh at myself because I have a lot of weird things about myself. So that's the comedy. And then there's music. And then if we have like we try to have one not stripper and then a bunch of different styled burlesque dancers in between. We had a boylesque dancer last night who's like, I have no words for how amazing.
Boylesque is amazing.
Yeah.
Okay.
Boylesque.
Let's pop this can open.
Okay.
What is boylesque?
It's burlesque, but with a boy undressing. Usually it's a lot more funny, but the first time I saw boylesque, I was literally screaming so loud that my wife was like, "Can you shut up? You're embarrassing me." And I was like, I don't know why I love this so much, but it's so good.
There's something about a man expressing himself in that way that's super awesome.
Yeah.
Because it's not it's...
Guys don't do sexy all the time.
Men on the pole at the club often.
So you think it's a breaking of a gender norm?
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, for sure.
But it's refreshing for you all. It's good to see.
It's definitely a huge thing now. Like, I mean,
it's getting huge.
It's so big. It's very much 50-50.
It's like exploded,
I'd say almost.
I
Yeah. So our other troupe member who's not here, Ryan Stone, is actually Cheri's wife, but does burlesque in drag. A drag king is a woman who dresses as a man. Mm-hmm. So, drag queen is the opposite. And Ryan dresses as a man and does burlesque. And it's fantastic.
Amazing.
It's so good. And there's more of that happening more and more often right
Would
now.
you say you're actively searching for men out there who are wanting to get in burlesque? Or, do you add to your troupe just based on people that come to you? Is that a 50-50?
That's a hard thing. I have not added anyone to the troupe beyond Cheri and Ryan because the way that I've been running the shows, it just doesn't make sense for me to have any more than that in the company, since we do like to bring the outside people in order to promise good pay and stuff. It's simpler to do it the way that we do it. It's a perfect little trio we have here. I mean, they're married and precious and perfect and harmonious, and there's nothing like, the dynamic is good, because when it's a bunch of people who might not get along, which I've definitely experienced in a troupe, like a couple of girls who just don't like each other and bicker the whole time and the tension's high, that doesn't exist here.
Right.
Cheri does most of the social media because I'm an old woman and I don't understand hashtags very well. And Ryan.
Well, it depends
also,
on if you're on Twitter or Instagram.
I cannot.
We don't do the Twitter.
We don't do the Twitter.
We
I don't
have the
understand
Twitter, but
it.
we don't use the Twitter. Instagram is very much Cheri's, like, oh my god. It's
I'm hearing Instagram is the new leader. It's everyone's leaving for it.
I'm glad I even know how to work it.
So good
not
at
Insta
it.
or not Twitter.
I make the posters and stuff, but I just like, okay, I do something like that.
You do like the graphic design, and then I just share it with everyone.
Yeah.
Oh, something that I would like to be shared on air is you all are my first contact from Instagram.
Oh, really?
Hey!
Yeah. So originally, I started up the social media accounts, and they weren't getting much traction. And then I realized I should get out and connect with the community. And all of a sudden, businesses started following the Instagram and vice versa. And I started messaging people, and that's when we made contact.
Yeah.
So that was with you.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, very cool.
And then you were sent over to me because I did the email.
Yep.
It was awesome. No, I mean, and yeah, this is the closest thing to a child I will ever have is these two, because I just don't see it in my future. And also they're incredibly dear to me in my life. They're my bestest friends, and it's only fun. And I don't feel like I want to tip that a certain way. Like there's a lot of talented people, and I don't want to not give people opportunity. But as far as the company being open, it's perfect the way that it is. We are very much open to people coming and being guest performers. We are not at all biased on that. We have actually an application on our Facebook that you can tell us what you do and send us video links and all this stuff. And, we try to focus on giving people first chances a lot. We do that. A lot of debuts happen through our shows.
I was going to ask, how do you want to feature people outside the company that come basically as a one-time or maybe a couple-time performers? How do you find them? Or you just,
Well, since I've been doing it so long now, I know a bunch of people. Like, a lot of it is that. But as far as bringing in new people, like, Cheri's approached way more than me, I'd say, especially since she runs the Insta and stuff about, like, just, like, wet behind the ears sort of people who are just really brand new to it and, like, just want to get into it for their first time. And there's two other performers in town, Billy Nova and Berlin Blush, and they both kittened for us last night, actually. But they also perform for us as well as their own entities. They were the ones who went to Utah, so they go and they do their own solos. They're in a couple drag shows that are local around town recently too. But if we're doing themes, I kind of know, like, I need a specific thing.
Certain acts.
So I might go specifically to someone because I, like, know they have a number that I want. But if it's more of just like, oh, we're just having a burlesque thing, like a variety of whatever, just embodying the whole whatever, then we'll go through and just choose someone that we have not necessarily worked with a bunch before and give them that opportunity. And it also, the thing about the applications that's handy is that we can see the numbers that they have. Like, oh, this person apparently has a really good Halloween number. Let's bring that one in. So it's about, it also has to do with curation of the shows. Like, production of burlesque shows is a lot of work.
Yeah.
It's a lot of work.
I can imagine.
Yeah.
So, yeah, a lot goes into action.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Right there at that start time of the show. Are you both from... You're probably not from Northern Colorado because you already mentioned L.A.
Yeah, I've been here a long time. I've been in Fort Collins since 2007.
Okay.
But I'm originally from Los Angeles, California.
And over here?
I was born in Northern Colorado, but I moved to further Midwest. I guess it's to the east from here. So that was when I was about like 5. So I pretty much grew up in Illinois and Iowa, and then once I turned like about 16, I moved back here. So I don't know, I'm from here, but I'm not.
Right.
So I came back to my roots.
Born in Boulder and immediately moved.
Oh, well,
really?
Yeah.
So you both have tried to get away and you came back.
Oh, I hated it. Even as a little kid, they were like, all right, we're all going to pick a state to write about. And I was like, I will fight you if you don't let me do Colorado.
Yeah.
I was obsessed with Colorado as a kid. So.
Oh, that's so cute.
Well, we all three have it in common because I tried to move to Lawrence, Kansas for school last year. Yeah.
Kansas.
And
Lawrence is cool.
Is
cool.
Yeah. Lawrence and Kansas City, that area is actually, super impressive. And it was
legit.
It was sad to go because it just wasn't a good fit with my department that I moved there for, and came right back to Northern Colorado.
Yeah.
It's funny how I have tried to move away so many times.
Yeah.
Yeah, something about it.
Well, and again, for
It's got this tractor jeep.
Fort Collins specifically, it's just everybody would be like, I've been literally going to the bar with the same people at the same bar for 20,000 years is what it feels like. And it's something comforting about that though here. The community is cool here. And it is also, for my standpoint, for the burlesque, it's since there isn't a ton of burlesque in Northern Colorado, it was why don't you move to Denver? I'm because I don't need to be in Denver. There's a saturation there. They're good.
Saturated.
They don't need us there. They need us
spotlight.
here. Yeah, we can supply that here, and I'm happy about it because it's not that I'm worried about competition, because I think a lot of people freak out about that. It's it would be fine if we start producing shows in Denver, but I like being able to give people that opportunity here.
Yeah, you have fans here, and you don't want to take that away. And
people from Denver can come down here if they want. They do.
I've gone to Denver for burlesque, so I feel like it's the same to come here.
If you like a thing, you'll follow it. It's like the people who follow fish. I don't know, but do it.
People who follow, okay. I got
the
you.
band, they were just at Dick's Sporting Goods, and all my friends were like, I'm going to be gone for 4 days. It's oh my God, that's awesome. Dedication to a thing. There are very avid fans of burlesque who will just anytime they can see it, they want to. I think it's therapeutic for people.
I was definitely a hardcore fan before I started performing. It's coming to shows all the time. So.
They were coming to shows for years before I even I was so busy all the time and stressed out. I'm sorry, I'm a terrible person. And I didn't even notice until Cheri was I want to do this thing. I was all right, cool. Came in at the right time for that. But I didn't realize how much longer they had been coming to our shows before I started involving them in the shows.
Yeah.
So that was cool.
And y'all have people approaching you saying thank you, or I've really enjoyed the show, had no idea what this was about. Thank you. And
that's an amazing
and
thing.
What we were saying before, I have all kinds of people coming up being I want to be part of this. I don't know what yet, but I'm they see us up there, and it's when you go to the theater and afterwards you see all of the people out, and you can kind of meet and greet them, and it's sometimes you're overwhelmed because you're moved by what by their performance. And I kind of feel people are that way, and sometimes they're moved in gratitude, and sometimes they're moved in I have to figure out how to become that entity, that free, beautiful stage performer. I don't know, a lot of people, I get a lot of people approaching me saying, how do I get into burlesque? And I'm always stage kitten. It's the best way, and you can really see if you want to do it.
And also go to shows.
Go
to shows. See what the other offerings there are. That was where I messed up in the beginning of my burlesque career, is that I wasn't really aware of the opportunity. I felt like I was kept in a weird box of like not knowing the other things and that this was all there was. And then if I wasn't doing it this way, it wasn't going to exist. And then I went to some shows in Denver. I was like, oh crap, this is a huge world.
And there are
and you
other
have to find
ways.
what you want to do with it. It's not, there are no rules on it besides don't be a racist bastard. Don't, there's just general norms of being a good fucking person. Excuse my French. That
No need to.
I've been holding in so many swears, you have no idea. I
said-
curse like a sailor, but I'm
We
trying.
said the words nipple and boob plenty of times. I don't think we have to worry about bad words
that's
anymore.
not a swear. That's
No,
a
I'm
body
just saying.
part. Yeah,
Yes.
that's true. We
You say it so
obviously
innocently.
burlesque is 18 and up, by the way,
Yeah.
Yes.
across the board. There's a little rule there.
Grandparents should not be bringing grandchildren for an evening out. at
Though
burlesque.
my grandmother came to my very first burlesque show, so that was crazy. But
Oh, that's cute.
Yeah.
I know now she's blind, so I'm glad she got to see me.
Shit.
Oh wow!
Do it.
I was not ready for
Yeah,
that.
sorry. Love you, Grandma. It's a fact, but yeah.
Shout out to Grams.
I don't know. It's just you got it. I think because the subject matter of burlesque is very much body positivity, so no fat shaming or skinny shaming, which both
Just no
I've
body
witnessed.
shaming
Yeah, no
in
body
general.
shaming at all. And people don't really like. I've been given hell about me being too skinny, and I'm like, whoa, like that's not what burlesque is about. We're enjoying every type of body, every type of sexual identification. It's hard, like cultural appropriation is a thing that's become a really hot button topic within burlesque communities recently. Like the Day of the Dead stuff, a lot of people are uncomfortable when somebody who's not of Hispanic descent is doing an act in that area. There's a lot of fine lines as far as putting together acts that could, like, a geisha act and you're not Japanese. I am Japanese and I do a geisha act because I can and also I like to, but I'm booked a lot on that act because I'm a safe bet because I actually am Japanese and I'm not. It's a hard, I don't know. I try to stay
They
out
don't
of
get,
that.
like, called out.
Yeah, but I understand, we're living in a really intense time right now. We're the sexual assault stuff and the political climate right now and everything. You have to be careful. And when you're dealing with exposing not only your body, but like your soul and your whole psyche, you gotta, it's a big thing you're showing. And I think that people react well on that. It's not just like watching somebody put on an act the whole time. You're seeing a part of a person that is very, very precious, that is usually guarded. It's naked body and naked soul. And I think that's why there's a lot of people who want to do it. It's not just because it's like, oh, it's so pretty. It's like, oh man, you put your tits out there. I'm like, yeah.
And your heart.
And and the heart and the heart-shaped
I wear
booty.
my heart on my tits. Not my
And
sleeve.
it's a very powerful, potent thing that burlesque is, and people can see it for however they want. They can see it for the glamour and the very superficial part, which is also super fun, or they can see it for the soul thing or the anything.
Right.
So as long as they're respectful of it,
Yeah. Have you felt any of this in the last year since joining Blue Stocking? Just outside influence, swirling around us like a hurricane, influencing your craft?
I definitely feel that, but I also feel like burlesque has given me like a power that I never had before.
What do you mean?
Well, I'm pretty shy, and I also, with the, I guess, like, sexual assault, the Me Too movement and stuff like that, burlesque is really a chance for women and femmies to kind of, like, reclaim their own sexuality without it being for men, which is typically how female sexuality is, like, marketed. But a lot of times, like, in burlesque, and something that I feel really strongly is that it's given me a way to feel like a lot stronger in myself in my nudity. I don't know.
It's like not feeling like we're doing it for the benefit of, I don't want to say a man because that's not fair. Like this is an all-encompassing, we have boylesque and, but, for another person, essentially. We're doing, a lot of burlesque comes for selfishly, but not selfishly because you need to take care of yourself for you. It's about not feeling like, oh, if I do this, then everybody's going to think that I'm asking for it. It's like, no, I'm not asking for it, and I know that I'm not, and this is what I'm doing.
I feel
with
like
confidence and a good community to keep me safe.
Yeah, the confidence kind of gives you this, like, you elude this, like, don't fuck with me kind of thing. Mm-hmm. Like, after doing burlesque for a while, like, even though you might be, like, walking around the room in, like, underwear with your tits out, you're like, I don't know, it's like this power that you're just like, don't touch me, like, I own this room, instead of feeling like other people, like, have power over you. You have power over everyone else.
Especially yourself.
And it's a powerful self-statement. It's a powerful summit to get to. It reminds me of why people go skydiving, why people quit their job on a whim and move to a place where they can snorkel forever and take guides, or people who get up in chaps and a cowboy hat and they get on the back of a bull. Mm-hmm. There's no logic in a brain that's say, I want to F with this 500-pound beast.
Yeah.
People do it because in that moment, you cannot rival that for that person. Mm-hmm. And, you know, every burlesque performer is going to take that home with them in a different way.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. It is so personal, as I've said. Burlesque is an incredibly personal journey. And that's why I think it's hard to teach it. I think you can teach things about it, certainly, like the very standard ways to peel off a glove or, you know, make sure just stage presence and things. But at the end of the day, it is your own brand. And it should always be that. It's sacred to be your own brand. It should not, in my opinion, and I know that people are going to argue with me about this, but you know, it's just, you got to be yourself about it, which is why I started the company and why I have beautiful people in it, like Cheri and Ryan, who support this. And it's just all-encompassing. It's so important, especially right now.
Why would they argue not to be yourself?
I think it just comes down to someone who really has a vision for what they want their company to be. And
don't diverge from the path. Stay in your lane, right?
Yeah. And again, though, that works for some people who like to follow, you know, like structure that way, whatever. That's fine. Rock on them. But it's just not commonly how burlesque is done and not how we wanted to do it.
Right.
So we don't do it like that.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So we're here. We got to give us this green room at 5.
I think we have
for
a
the
time.
For the Artery. Yeah, we got about 8 minutes.
They're probably going to be late because they're going to be late. But yes, we can wrap it up.
Okay. Any parting words? Or let's assume that listeners out there, this is the first time let's see. They may or may not have gone to a burlesque show in person. Probably not.
Okay.
And if they've digested the entire episode, it might be the first time they've ever seen behind the curtain of a burlesque show. What do you want to leave with a listener like that?
I don't know. You should go first.
I guess I really want to encourage them to check it out. I think that there's a lot of different things for different entertainment needs, that especially when we have a really solid variety show, even if you're like not that sure about nudity or something, the humor and the jokes that come through, I think, can kind of pander to anyone. And I also think burlesque is kind of like, as you get older and you want to go out and there's like these facets for entertainment, burlesque really offers an adult entertainment where you can cuss freely, you can like yell and shout, and we're all like having a drink and like we're all like chatting about that, and it's just like a very it's all the silly stuff that you did as a kid but formed into an adult like version. I don't know how to quite explain that, but it's like,
I think that's great.
Yeah, I think
okay.
That's perfect. No, I agree. I've never actually thought about it that way before. Yeah, I would also just encourage people to come check it out. You know, if you're shy about it, that's totally understandable, but a lot of people come in shy and then leave addicted because you also just pick up on the love of the performers, love what they're doing, they love interacting with the audience, and it's great entertainment, adult entertainment. You know, it's fun to dress up and go out and see a burlesque show and bring out your finest vintage wares and enjoy a well-curated, very heartfelt thing that's very precious to the people who do it.
Right. Well, hopefully people have a good understanding of burlesque after this talk.
Yeah.
I hope so.
So if they want to get in contact with you all, let's see. We got the first Thursday of every month show here at the Artery, right?
Downtown Artery.
If they want to reach out to you all, Instagram, email, what's the best? Website?
Instagram and Facebook is really good. We're very good about, definitely good about responding to messages on Facebook. And that's Facebook and Instagram are good for fans to reach out. So both of those are at Blue Stocking Burlesque or / Blue Stocking Burlesque. Messages are better through the Facebook. Mm-hmm. And email is bluestockingburlesque@gmail.com.
Okay. Well, thank you both for your time. And good luck in the future.
Thank you.
Do you have an idea or input about a possible future guest on the show? Reach out to us at themoreyouknow@gmail.com or just private message us on our Instagram page. I want to say a special thank you to Russell Isaac Long, the man responsible for all the music used here at the NoCo. Are you looking for a little bit of bonus content in addition to the regular episodes on the show? Look for us out there on the interwebs on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, all at the NoCo. Until next time, peace!